Okay, we'll begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. I'd like to ask Sarah Biviano if she would please provide us with a roll call.
Fusco.
Aye.
Kamer.
Here.
Connor.
Here.
Baylor.
Aye.
And Mosley.
Here.
All committee members are present.
Very good, thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept the minutes of the previously held meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Very good. All right, thank you very much. We have two items that are up for a public hearing this afternoon. The procedures will be that the planning department will provide the committee with a recommendation report on the conditional use request. After that, a representative of our law department will swear in those individuals that wish to speak before the committee in reference to that conditional use request. Then we'll open up the public hearing and ask for input from the community, from those that have been sworn in. And after that, we'll close the public hearing portion, open it up to the committee for questions and comments. After that, we'll open it to all of City Council for questions and comments. After that, we'll then repeat the process this evening at 7 o'clock and invite everybody back, in which we'll basically repeat the procedures. However, the difference is that the committee will then make a recommendation to all of council this evening at 7 o'clock. So those are the procedures. I think I touched base on everything. Is that okay, Ms. Biviano? Thank you. Very good. With that, the first item that's up for a public hearing today, helps to be on the right page, is authorizing a conditional use to establish an auto dealership at 338 North Arlington. Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Abraham Zabai is requesting permission to establish an auto dealership at this location. The planning staff was notified along with photos on July 25th, 2022 of the former vacant residential lot having been paved, along with the placement of a shed and signage advertising used car sales. An order to comply was immediately issued. On October 26, 2022, the petitioner's appeal was denied by the Board of Zoning Appeals. One goal of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan is to preserve and protect single-family residential neighborhoods. This property contained a dwelling from 1900 up until 2018. The west side of North Arlington Street is mainly developed with single-family residences. The exception is a conditionally zoned auto sales business to the north at the intersection of Lorraine and North Arlington Street, and a small vacant church abutting the property to the south. A reinspection of the property on November 3rd, 2022 revealed the lot to be full of vehicles for sale. The petitioner never contacted Akron Zoning to determine the permitted land uses, nor did he contact Akron Plans and Permits to obtain the required grading and paving permit. Besides the number of vehicles on the property not allowing for aisles and a safe and logical flow of traffic, the placement and size of a sign, the location of a shed, and the lack of fencing and landscape buffer are in violation of the zoning code. Additionally, the shed, which is being used as an office, does not appear to have underground electric nor water service. The use of a developable single-family zone lot as a poorly designed used car sales lot is not harmonious with the goals of either the Land Use and Development Guide Plan, Planning to Grow Akron, or the Department of Integrated Development's 5-year strategic framework. This older section of Middlebury already struggles with blight, and the proposed use and development are intrusive not only to the abutting residential property, but to the surrounding neighborhood. The Office of Integrated Development, Planning Staff, and Planning Commission recommend disapproval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. I'd like to now ask for a representative of our law department to please swear in those individuals that wish to speak before the committee.
Do you swear or affirm the statement you're about to give is true, complete, and accurate?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request at 338 North Arlington. If you could please provide for us your name and address.
My name is Abraham Zabai. I'm originally from Liberia. I had the opportunity to come over here in 2007, And I've been here since then, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity, and I've been trying to do the best I can just to make sure my family and myself, we can be able to succeed. I got a couple of photos over here indicating the surrounding of the building I'm trying to use as a car lot. We got so many other businesses around the area. We even have a car lot next door to my lot, and I'm just here appealing to the board to give me the opportunity to build it to the standard they want. They just got to give me what they want me to do, and I'm glad and I'm super happy to do whatever they want me to do. Okay. And then I'm also a bus driver for the Woolwich district as well. On the weekend too, I also do an Uber to make sure our community is safe as well. And then every year, Esther Zebed Auto give opportunity to kids in Akron. We give back to kids in Akron as well, not just in Akron, even because when I came from a village where there is no water, there is no food. So every year I go back there and give back to the community too as well, where I came from, because I know exactly how it feels like to be down to the bottom. So I am so thankful and grateful for this opportunity. I had a building, but I was evicted from the building because my landlord couldn't fix the building, and I was trying to fix the building. I fixed the first building, fixed the second building. He kicked me out of the first building to the second building, and there was problem on the second building, and he wanted me to fix it. It's cost almost $30,000, and I refused to fix the building, and he decided to kick me out. So a friend of mine introduced me to this lot, and I think I was under the impression that the lot was a commercial building at the time. So we was doing everything we need to do to get the lot up. We cut the trees, cost almost $2,000 to cut the trees, and then we paved half of the place because we are a small business, and we just need about 20 cars in the front. So we paved a building in the front of the lot, and also we bought a shell building and put it down, and we about to fence the entire lot. Also, we about to run electric from the pole. The city, we already have the permit from the city. I'm just trying to find, I've been waiting for them to approve it so I can waste all this money into this building, and then in the end, I don't have the building or I can't do anything on the lot. So I'm gonna be a huge loss. So I'm just appealing to each and every one of you here today to give me the opportunity to do exactly what you want me to do. Just give me the plan, how you want it to do, and give me the time frame, and I'll be glad to do it. And I'm sorry for any inconvenience I caused any one of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak before the committee? No. Okay, very good. He did, certainly. Anyone else wishing to speak to the committee in reference to the conditional use request on North Arlington? Anyone else? Okay. With that,
Councilman Fusco.
yeah. Thank you. One second. With that, we'll close the public hearing portion. Hearing none, seeing none, and we'll open up. I see Sharon Connor would like to speak.
I've had numerous calls from residents opposing this car dealership, although I think maybe we could offer to investigate the idea. There is a vacant used car dealership at the corner of Market and Arlington, and it's quite a large property, and it's also in the Great Street areas. So maybe if he could get in touch with Great Streets, they could assist him in opening it up there in a highly visible corner with lots of traffic, and not in a residential neighborhood full of small children and adults.
Thank you, Sharon Connor. Any other committee members wish to have any comments or questions? Anyone from council? Chair Mosley.
Thank you. I agree with my colleague. If we could give them an opportunity to reach out to the dealership on the corner of Market and Arlington. I do believe they may be using it as a auto repair. They're doing some kind of auto repair there, but the lot is empty, and the car lot that was there previous, they flourished. They did pretty well. I don't know why they moved, but they had been there for years, so that may be an opportunity as well for them to reach out to them instead of them putting more money into something that may not be approved.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Further questions or comments from anyone? Linda Mobian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I totally agree with my colleagues. It sounds like, and I'm not there and I don't know, that the petitioner probably doesn't understand the procedures to reach out to Mr. Antonucci or someone to help him understand what he needs to do. So if someone could reach out and help him explore other options, that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to make comment? Okay, seeing and hearing none, I'll meet with you after the meeting, and we could have a discussion. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll now move on to the second item. It'll be about 20 minutes or so, and then the next item that's up for a public hearing is a ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a Type A daycare home at 393 East Woodsdale. Mr. Antonucci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Yana Owens is requesting permission to establish the Type A child daycare home at this location. The proposed daycare home would occupy the living room and one bedroom of the 1,300 square foot, one-story ranch dwelling. Care would be provided for a maximum of 12 children, ranging in age from 6 weeks to 12 years. The days of operation would be from Monday through Friday, from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., plus alternating weekends. The property contains an attached two-car garage with room for at least 2 vehicles in front of the garage. There's also on-street parking along East Woodsdale Avenue. The side yard area is enclosed with a combination of white vinyl picket fence and solid fencing. Several of our clients attend Voris Community Learning Center and receive after-school care. This Firestone Park neighborhood property is well maintained, and the traffic engineer has no concerns with drop-off and pickup. Providing quality daycare service is beneficial to the entire city, and the planning staff, Office of Integrated Development, supports the request. Office of Integrated Development, Planning Staff, and Planning Commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Antonucci. Is there anyone here wishing to testify before the committee in reference to the conditional use request? I believe there may be somebody online.
Hi, could you please raise your right hand if you wish to testify? Do you swear or, could you unmute yourself? Sorry. Do you, no worries. Do you swear or affirm the statement you're about to give is true, complete, and accurate?
I do.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone wishing to make any comments. At this time, if you could please provide for us your name and address. I'll recognize, I believe it's Yana's iPad?
Yes.
Okay, welcome.
Excuse me?
Welcome. Would you like to make a comment? Yes. You're welcome to make any comments if you'd like.
I have a short comment. I maintain my home, the yard, keep the kids in the fence at all times. They're always under surveillance cameras, myself and staff.
Very good, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to offer?
No, thank you. That'll be it.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor or against the conditional use request on Woodsdale Avenue? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion and open up to any committee members that may have questions or comments. Anyone wishing to make any comments in reference to the conditional use request? Anyone? Okay, very good. We'll invite you back this evening at 7 o'clock. And again, the committee will the only difference will be that the committee will make a recommendation this evening at 7 o'clock in reference to your conditional use, either in favor, against, or to take time or table the item, okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go to the list of regular legislation. I believe we'll take time on everything, short of any concerns or comments, and we'll move into the new list of legislation. Okay, very good. Sarah Biviano, would you mind? Thank you. Your voice just sounds a lot better than mine.
Item number 2 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an agreement with Bounce Innovation Hub to support Bounce as a presenting partner in order to further the continuing and future success of Bounce and declaring an emergency.
Yes,
Yes,
thank
good
you.
afternoon.
Mr. Volman, perhaps we should swear you in, I'm not sure. Just joking. No, go ahead.
Yeah, so since Bounce is open, we have participated as a presenting partner, is that the correct term? And this agreement would be to do so for another 3 years. In addition to helping Bounce, we get space over there. We have, generally have an employee over there a good amount of the time throughout the week, and we also get access to facilities and be able to hold events there as well.
Very good. This is a 3-year commitment for
Yes.
$125 per year for the next 3 years?
125,000.
I'm sorry?
125,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 375,000 altogether, 125 per year for 23, 24, and 25.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Mr. Malik?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Volman. I know, the city's investment in Bounce has been very helpful and is already producing a lot of dividends. Is this our annual commitment to Bounce, or are there commitments beyond this?
I don't
Financial
have a great answer to that question.
Okay.
I mean, we own the building,
Sure.
still, so they lease it from us. I know we have committed to assisting with the second floor build-out this year, but I believe, and I will find out for sure, I believe that it's really as if they operate at not at a deficit, then we wouldn't do anything else, but I will find that out.
Yeah, but this is the primary financial commitment outside of the specific build-outs?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Further questions or comments? Samobian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know that Bounce has been helping us with our area of increasing,
All right.
hold on a minute. Can you hear me?
Yes, we missed that last statement, though.
Yeah, and I'm somehow off the camera. But I know that they've been helping us with our area of minority employment and readiness for work. Have we done a report of any kind of late? And I know they had done some hiring. I know Ace Epps, I think that's his last name, is no longer there, but I would assume that they replaced it with someone else. So do we know if we have any kind of report or anything from them?
I see Mr. Becker, are you here to answer that?
Yes, did replace Mr. Epps just recently, and we can get you that report. We have not seen it for this year, but they have generated it for 2022 already, so we can get you a copy of that and give it to all of council.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I can't, oh, there it is. My screen was blocked.
Any other further questions or comments, Ms. Mobian?
No, I'm trying to get back on my screen. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. I see Nancy Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I just have a really basic question. I'm a big fan of Bounce too, but I'm interested in understanding what does this expenditure pay for, if we know?
The expenditure, other than giving us access and space, it helps them with some of the expenses that they have with the building. And, you know, if they need some minor renovations or something, it also helps with that. But they do receive...
Okay, and we own the building, so is it fair to say that it's not rent, right?
That's correct, it is not rent.
Okay, but building related, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any further questions or comments? Consent agenda okay on this?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to, is there a recommendation for consent agenda on item number?
Motion for consent.
Thank you. Is there a second? I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Very good. The ayes have it. Item number 3.
Item number 3 is a substitute offered as an amendment. It's an ordinance authorizing the transfer of city-owned property to the Akron Zoological Park, the Akron Zoo, in exchange for property owned by the Akron Zoo, and declaring an emergency.
Yes, hi. We talked about this briefly last week. We were doing an 11 parcel for 11 parcel swap. President Somerville had wanted us to look into pulling one of those parcels out, potentially to sell to the neighboring homeowner. We have done that. And we then, the zoo then allowed us to pick which parcel we would take out, you know, on their side of things as well. So I do have a map, but I think it's attached to the new legislation as well. There's a little red X on each of the 2 parcels that are no longer part of the swap.
Very good. Let me check real fast here. Oh, I don't see it. Is it,
Mr. Volman, I do not have a copy of the updated.
I do right here.
excuse me, if you could provide us with street names, that'd be.
Yeah, so I mean, they're primarily on roads.
Gotcha, yeah. I think I know approximately where we're at, but, yeah, it would be helpful.
Yeah, we'll get that to you.
I'll pass this along.
Yeah.
Is consent agenda okay on this?
We would like passage tonight if possible due to the delay we had last week. And, you know, we're working on, you know, trying to get the parcels we get for development.
Can we get a better map before 7?
We can get you a better map before 7.
And put it in the attachment as an attachment. Thank you very much.
We'll do so.
Thank you, sir. And I know this is affected by, this is located in Ward 3, and
Yes.
so, and I did speak to the ward representative on this and said, she said she was happy with it. So questions or comments from anyone? Okay, short of that, we'll entertain a motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. In a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Against? Very good. The ayes have it. Next item.
Item number 3A is an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the 2021 Consolidated Annual Action Plan to include Home American Rescue Plan Home ARP funding as an eligible activity and authorizing the Director of Planning and Urban Development to enter into all necessary agreements for the operation and term of the programs and declaring an emergency.
This is to be referred, I assume, for a public hearing on the 30th?
Correct.
All right. All those in favor of referring signify by saying aye. Aye. Very good. The ayes have it. Okay, that concludes our agenda item. However, we do have a guest here, and that's Susie Graham with the Downtown Akron Partnership, and her team is here as well to discuss with us the downtown vision and redevelopment plan. Welcome. And please, if you could introduce your team, and don't be afraid of us. We're anywhere, sit anywhere you like. I know we're an intimidating bunch down here, but we're pretty gentle. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Yes, thank you. Just
Councilman
Jeff is fine.
Fusco.
All
Thank
right,
you.
very good. Want to introduce yourself and your team and your mission here?
Thank you so much for making time for us today. My name is Susie Graham. I'm the president of Downtown Akron Partnership. We are a downtown nonprofit organization dedicated to the vibrancy and value of a downtown neighborhood. My colleagues with me today are Kimberly Beckett, she's our Director of Business Relations, and Caleb Thurman, who is new to our team, who is a Business and Operating Specialist. So in 2018, council generously helped us accept and approve the Downtown Akron Vision and Redevelopment Plan in 2018. That was the first consensus-led planning effort for downtown, to our knowledge, ever. We had a robust planning committee that was involved with it, as well as a significant amount of community engagement, I would say, for 5 years ago. And one of the exciting things in Akron, I think, is that we've all built much stronger community engagement muscles over the last 5 years. I have submitted for your review a document that takes you through 6 key recommendation areas that were provided. It's the color document that starts with concentrate on the core. And this gives us an overview of some of the things that were recommended 5 years ago, as well as some of the progress that has occurred in that 5-year period. I want to just make sure that I am being respectful of your time and first ask about how long we have to review documents today. I can keep it as light or as in-depth as you would prefer.
I would say whatever you would like in terms of time. We do have another meeting scheduled for 2:15.
Okay.
So you got a lot of time.
Okay.
But then again, thank you for asking, and
Absolutely.
yeah,
Okay.
whatever it is, we need to know for sure. How's that?
Wonderful. So I'm going to hit the highlights as far as what has occurred over the last 5 years. I think the importance of these things are that it is good to know that the plan that was created was followed. That doesn't always happen. Recommendations that were made from that original plan have actually come to fruition in a very positive way for downtown. As an optimist, of course, there's always things that we can do better, but it's important to check in and see how well we've done over the last 5 years, especially considering the fact that we've gone through a worldwide pandemic, and despite that pandemic, we've made a lot of progress. But because of those significant changes to the worldwide economy as well as the downtown economy, it's important for us to take a step back and recalibrate instead of just assuming that we should continue with the recommendations that were made 5 years ago. So what we are doing is working with a team of consultants as well as with the Akron neighborhoods to refresh this plan and make sure that it is relevant and still has good data in it to advise the next 5 years of growth in downtown. So that first recommendation that was made 5 years ago was to concentrate on the core. At that time, there was a lot of disparate investment in downtown and what is sometimes referred to as whack-a-mole development, where things were like popping up, but there wasn't necessarily continuity in there. So the recommendation was we need to focus on Main Street, make sure that we get one street and a few blocks just right so that the vibrancy picks up and that we're able to spur additional economic development and growth based on that core. You can see some of the great highlights that have occurred since that time. I'll dig a little deeper into residential growth on the following recommendation, but with placemaking efforts at the Akron Civic Theater, the night stage coming into fruition. From an infrastructure standpoint, you are all intimately familiar with the reconstruction of Main Street and the investment there, as well as the utilities upgrade there so that other development could follow on. From a strategic standpoint, we also had the growth of the Elevate Greater Akron strategy that came into fruition, and significant retail development and expansion on Main Street as well. Exciting on the horizon, naturally, is the Lock 3 plan that would be coming to fruition that will help us create more of a Central Park feeling in Lock 3 that will help build continuity in that block and also continue to open up opportunities to make sure that downtown is a welcoming place for all people. The second recommendation was for us to focus on a residential downtown. And 5 years ago, there were many people who said, no one wants to live downtown. No one will ever want to live downtown. And so we're happy to report that 5 years again, despite a worldwide pandemic, we've had $176 million of residential investment in downtown, and that's private investment that was in many ways motivated by that tax abatement policy passed by council. So thank you for that. It really helped us turn that needle and start that development moving forward. We're now at about 1,800 residents in downtown, and the occupancy of the commercial buildings that were created is at 90%. So that investment means that there are people that are excited to live downtown. They're an essential part of our downtown community now, especially since there are not so many people coming to work in the downtown area. So we're really happy about that investment. The other thing that it's done that I think is important to identify is that by taking some of that commercial occupancy or the commercial space off the market and turning it into residential, we've made our downtown market more marketable. So we are now experiencing, for the first time in 12 years, the lowest vacancy rate in downtown than we have experienced for the last 12 years. So for outside eyes, that cues us that our market is ready for more investment and more development. And so that's helping us shift those numbers, making them more favorable to developers and cueing that next phase of development. As I mentioned, this new refresh to the plan will help us dig into those numbers more deeply and decide, how hard do we need to hit that gas pedal with respect to residential development, and what other ways might we foster residential development to ensure that we have an equitable downtown and that there's opportunities for all to live and be a part of the downtown neighborhood. The third recommendation is to foster an entrepreneurial downtown, and honestly, this is timely with respect to your investment or potential investment in Bounce. So we've seen a lot of development come along with the entrepreneurship ecosystem, not only in downtown, but in Akron in general. And so as we see those gears lining up and starting to turn better and stronger, we're able to continue to help grow entrepreneurship in Akron, and certainly downtown can be a great player in that community. One of the things that has been exciting with my work with Kimberly Beckett, my colleague, is the work that she has done with the Start Downtown program, which helps introduce entrepreneurs to downtown, helps them locate a space in downtown, and then grow their business here as well. So there's been lots of strides ahead in that department, and certainly always more room to grow. The fourth recommendation was to facilitate public and private investment in downtown, and that's how can we create systems or structures that facilitate matches, or when the local government might contribute a little bit or provide something like a tax abatement policy that then fosters additional private investment that helps our economic development wheels turn. So you can see that the Development Finance Authority has created numerous programs over the last 5 years to help people finance projects both at a much more micro level as well as a macro level, and some of that small business growth that we've seen in downtown, again, with Kimberly's help, and then just by working with some specific entrepreneurs, it builds excitement, and we see more follow-on investment as well. We also see public space improvements in downtown over the last 5 years, and anytime we're investing in public space, that often helps encourage private investment at the periphery of any of those public spaces. So those have all been exciting to welcome over the last 5 years. The fifth recommendation was to invest in a welcoming and multimodal downtown. You see that on Main Street with the inclusion of the cycle track. You see that with the inclusion of spin scooters and bicycles, and that we're really trying to foster room for all people to be able to access downtown and enjoy downtown. Metro certainly plays an important part in that equation with bus accessibility on Main Street, High Street, and Broadway, and their work that they have been doing in their transit-oriented design study to next level that investment in downtown. And you can also see some of that connectivity through the development of trail systems as the Freedom Trail starts to move into downtown, connecting to the towpath, which makes us a tremendous asset as we sit next to what was recently declared as the second most popular national park in the United States, the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. So ways for us to continue to harness that energy and enthusiasm and help it work for Akron. And then the last recommendation was to continue to activate downtown, which really has to do with programming. And the recommendation there was that we needed to work better together, acknowledging that there were many different entities that were creating programs for downtown, but how can we get those wheels to turn a little bit better together? We are happy to report that we convene a group of downtown planning partners as a hub for arts and culture in Akron on a bi-weekly basis. So we're talking with our downtown partners, lining up calendars, which I hope to have presented for you in February. We'll have a calendar of events about different events that are going on downtown, whether it's a DAP program or the Akron Marathon or the city programs, all in one spot. Okay, so that's the high-level recommendations from plan number 1. And now, if there are no questions, or I should say, are there any questions? I'm gonna take a breath.
Okay, Mr. Lombardo?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation here. So, as I see, where'd the page go? Just downtown living, you said that there's like 90% residential occupancy, right?
Yes.
So, you probably heard this before, but there's not a grocery store downtown, right? So, I'm just wondering, you know, is there any plans for that? I mean,
Sure. So and that is the most frequently heard comment when we convene, whether it's residents, they will frequently ask, and honestly, we're at the, can we just get a convenience store versus a grocery store? So from a number standpoint, if it is not a subsidized project, it's typically, you're probably going to need 4,000, 4,500 residents, and we're at 1,800 right now, before you can financially get a more substantial market to turn. That said, on occasion, there have been some of the property owners in downtown or the property managers for those residential facilities and places that are trying to figure out how they can get some kind of a market to operate in downtown and being very creative with it as well. So it's in the plan, depending on the willingness of the property owner, if they're willing to really subsidize it, that's going to significantly affect the timing of that project.
okay. All right,
It's a great question.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. I had a question. Just go ahead. Anybody else? Tara?
Very briefly, I know with the Lock 3 renovations, what's the plan for the summer with downtown Akron, with Lock 3 being under renovation? I'm sure you have a plan, but speak to that.
So that's a great question. Lock 3's programming is managed by the city, and we are so happy that they have come up with a solution so that the programming itself is not disrupted, even though it will be in a different location. So it will be Lock 3 adjacent, is one of the proposed site selections for that programming of the concerts. Similar to the ice skating is Lock 3 adjacent, just under the State Street Bridge.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Absolutely.
Questions or comments? I notice here what we're doing is a redevelopment plan is what we're calling this, which is good. But are we also looking at land use? I know we've made some adjustments of late in reference to
Questions. So the plan itself, as it is refreshed, MKSK will do some thinking about land use and make recommendations. Naturally, anything that's provided in the plan is something that then the city and council would have to work together on if there are any zoning changes or recommendations. In the first plan, there were recommendations to move towards form-based zoning. I might end up turning into a rabbit hole here, but some high-level recommendations to look at ways to set the table for downtown so that we don't have to take each potential land use question and sort of take them one at a time, as opposed to having, this is what we're trying to create in our downtown, here's a template for it. If something is really strongly differentiates itself from that general consensus, that's when we talk about that specific issue with respect to land use. But definitely an important piece, I think, for us to progress on as a community, and it's something that a lot of other downtowns have.
Very good. Thank you.
Then you asked about connectivity to the Reconnecting Our Community project with the Interbelt. So in the first plan, prior to the Reconnecting Our Community project, it was a focus area. The Interbelt itself was a focus area, and the recommendations were very high level, and essentially whatever was that would occur, if development occurs, to ensure that that development occurs around an already existing artery into the neighborhoods, as opposed to just sort of like plopping something down and expecting people to find it. So high-level recommendation of continuing to build on the few remaining threads that connect us to the neighborhoods and build those out, as opposed to starting someplace new. And also the recommendation to do a deeper dive. So the Reconnecting Our Community project does just that and is starting this deeper dive process. One of the things that's going to be really important with this plan is how do we make sure that we are connecting to each adjacent community, because downtown is so severed from all of the other neighborhoods. If you think about it, we almost always have to cross a bridge of some sort to get into a neighborhood. And so thinking about the expansion of downtown, but also just creating really meaningful connections. Some of the early suggestions we've been hearing about, even just wayfinding, where something, if you're going across the Y Bridge, it says to North Hill. And then on the way back across, it says to downtown, so that we're helping our residents feel connected, just in general across the entire city.
I appreciate, Natine, I believe you had reached out to communities, to our neighborhood specifically, and so appreciate that, and I'm sure you're going to do that again, so that's great to hear. Thank you.
Super.
Go ahead if you want to move on. I'm sorry. Ms. Amobian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I'm just curious, when we talk about occupancy of downtown, are we talking about Mayflower, Landmark, the residential facilities down farther on Main Street and Cedar for the university, mostly for the university students? What are we specifically talking about?
Yes, I can answer that. Most are core downtown properties, so we do not go past Barges. So Main and Barges is like our southern boundary, and then the north side would be our northern boundary. But anything on Main Street and all the properties on Main Street, and in the, I think there's only one other, like the depot, that includes the depot, but it doesn't go into the University of Akron further down Exchange Street.
I see. Could you tell me how many units of housing are we talking about?
I think we're talking about 1,400. I'm trying to imagine my spreadsheet, which I can report back to you with some numbers, but I think it's about 1,400 units total in that area.
Thank you very much. With regard to Mayflower, have we come up with, or has anyone come up with a plan for Mayflower?
Well, they're investing a considerable amount of funds in the Mayflower, and they've been doing that the last few years. I'm aware of that. So I don't think anything else other than that, unless there's something newer.
It was purchased by a new property owner who's been renovating the units a couple at a time, and I believe the unit renovation is complete. They also renovated the common areas at the Mayflower, and so I believe those renovations are complete. And then with Kimberly's outreach, residential outreach, we continue to meet with residents in the Mayflower or in any of the residential properties downtown, the same that she mentioned.
Very good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Malik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, all three of you, for being here and for all the information. I think one point that kind of arises from the last question is, you know, it's a very long downtown, long and narrow downtown, and one of the points in here is about how do we kind of create a connected downtown that's easily navigable. That's not easy to say, easily navigable. And I know one of the things that was a partnership with the city was bringing some of the scooters downtown, and there's also in here about e-bikes. So kind of how it seems like the reception of that has been fairly positive, especially with university students. But where are we on e-bikes, and how do you think about this kind of generally?
So I know that Dylan Garitano has been championing the work with the e-bikes and, if it's fair to say, like micro-mobility. The e-bikes and the scooters, I remember at one point the gentleman from Spin was saying that we were an exemplary community for scooter use. So we were seeing how people actually are using them, and not just to connect from one spot to another spot downtown, but to connect across those gaps that disconnect us from the neighborhood. So we couldn't ask for them to do another update, but that is through the city that the micro-mobility is managed. And I would say to continue to foster that development, that they've been a wonderful partner to work with. When we do community events, they come alongside us and offer free tours and things of that nature, and Kimberly has built out scooter tours as part of the programming that we provide in downtown as well. So I'd say all thumbs up with respect to that.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, we'd like to go into the Downtown Akron Vision Redevelopment Plan for 22.
Thanks.
Briefly.
Okay, briefly.
I think we're bumping up against time at this
Okay,
point.
super. So long story short, this is where we say we really need your help. So we're in a refresh process. That team is on the second page. We're working with Studio O. This is also a great place where we're connecting to the Reconnecting Our Community effort. Liz Ogbu from Studio O is championing that effort as a consultant for the city. She is on this team as well, so that we're creating seamless connection between those two projects. MKSK is the same design team that we worked with for the plan the first time. They were wonderful. And Development Strategies is updating their prior information from the first plan. So that helps us from an economy standpoint. We're not starting back from the beginning with a brand new group of people. We're working with the folks that helped us with the plan the first time, but then ensuring that we're also building in how do we develop a more equitable downtown with Liz's eye on that work. So our timeline is the next slide. Essentially, it's about 6 months, but we know with respect to the equitable development, that's going to take us a little longer to build out. We haven't really done that before, so we're thinking hard about it. We're figuring out how we might be able to work alongside with the city to integrate some equitable development strategies into downtown. But at 6 months, we should at least be able to share some high-level recommendations, and certainly the market analysis will be updated so that if you've got folks that are looking to develop, for example, more residential downtown, they'll have good numbers to run with. And then also part of that market analysis includes a hospitality scan. So we have 2 hotels in downtown now, but neither of them, both of them are fantastic, and neither of them are necessarily convention center adjacent. So we're doing a deeper dive into the statistics around the convention center, the work that they are already doing. They're doing amazing work. And we believe, based on the first plan and then looking deeper in the second plan, if we want to grow the pie of hospitality in Akron and make Akron more of a destination location, the next hotel should be convention center adjacent. So trying to figure that out and having good numbers to work on. The key focus areas are entrepreneurship and employment, housing and diversification, and retail and hospitality for this next phase. And then sort of skipping to the end, now is the time for us to get a lot of public feedback. So we would appreciate your support. We do have online tools available for people to engage individually with the plan, but we are happy to come out and meet with your constituencies wherever it is most convenient. I so appreciate, I know that Councilwoman Mosley has already invited us to come out in February. Good. So any opportunity where we can come and speak with the public, we'd be happy to do that. And if you can help encourage your constituencies to engage with the plan, it's available at downtownakron.com.
No, thank you so much. And I recall those conversations in 17 and 18 about bringing our neighborhoods downtown more and including their voices, and you've done that, and continuing basically along the same path, but then again, getting more input from the community. Mr. Lombardo, do you have a question?
No, I just want to sign up for April.
Okay.
My ward meeting, last Wednesday in April.
And I also see scan to learn more. Is that where we would find out more information, I assume, on this one, or is there another area we should look at?
All of
that we could pass on.
So the easiest place is downtownakron.com, but Caleb also handed out some flyers. So if you have any place that is willing to take that flyer, a restaurant, a business, you name it, the green one says, tell us more about downtown. That's very easy for people to scan and interact with. We can print, if you want some things to pass out, we can print things to pass out. You name it, you tell us how we can best meet your constituency where they are, and we will do that for sure.
Okay. And if there's anything, any of these meetings or what have you that you would like council to have a presence, we're more than happy if you can let us know, in terms of discussions around a lot of different, because there's a lot of moving parts with the downtown dynamic. And I recall a year, not long ago, whenever someone challenged the fact that downtown is a neighborhood. It's like, yeah, it is. Mr. Malik?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to particularly note, I appreciate the attention to detail when it comes to the marketing materials and really trying to get the word out there in a positive way. I think one of the challenges we deal with downtown is sometimes the perception and concerns around safety. And obviously there's, work that can be done, but sometimes cutting through the perception is half the battle. And I really appreciate when I see really nicely done flyers and when information is presented in a really accessible and easy to manage way. So that's been the experience that I've had, and really appreciate that.
Thank you. I see Linda Mobian has a question.
Yes, thank you. You mentioned that we have 2 hotels, and I'm trying my best to figure out the second one. I know the Blue Tick is one. Is that one?
Marriott,
Yes, and then the Courtyard by Marriott in the north side.
Ward 5.
Is that the one that used to be the Ramada Inn or whatever? It's had several names.
No, that one actually is still potentially being redeveloped, and most likely not as a hotel. But, so we have one in the north side, and then the one at the corner of Market and Main. And so because...
Oh, you took on Furnace, okay.
Yes,
okay,
yes. You got it.
That in. Oh, okay, I was trying my best to figure out, there's something downtown that I can't remember. Yeah, I know that one's being redeveloped. Do we know what is being redeveloped into? I know it's supposed to be residential or some kind.
It was proposed as a residential redevelopment, but I haven't seen any movement on that recently.
I see. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Very good. Well, thank you.
We hope to
Did
see
you
you.
have anything else?
Just, we hope to see you. Thank you for putting the flyer up at Lunar New Year this weekend at the Akron Civic Theater.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Our next committee of the day will be the Public Safety Committee, and it will begin at 2:15. Those committee members are Kamer, Mosley, Lombardo, Malik, and McKittrick. Again, that's the Public Safety Committee, and it will begin at 2:15. Thank you.